Hello, America. You and I, we need to have a talk.
This is The Springer Show, the voice of conservative truth. And now, here is your host, Brian Springer.
Hello. Welcome in, everybody. I appreciate you being here with me today. I've got a few things that I really want to touch on today with you guys. First, I want to throw this back a little bit and just give you a quick little rundown of, me and this show. I am not some large corporation. This is not some multimedia production. There is no huge corporation or company behind this. This is one man with a microphone. That's pretty basic. That's pretty much it. It's me, my microphone, my computer, and whom I can get on here, to talk with me, have discussions. I enjoy doing what I do. I'm not doing this to grow a huge listener base, although that would be nice. I want to spread the word as much as I can. I enjoy politics. I enjoy news. I enjoy keeping up with things. I enjoy sharing information. I enjoy educating and being educated. In saying all of that, I have been asked before about my setup, what sort of, staff that I have. None. There's just me. I do the recording. I take care of the media. I do the sound bites. I do the post-production editing. And I release everything. I do it all. I'm the one who pays any amount of money that it takes to produce this show. I have nobody else paying money. I have nobody else donating. It's all me. It's, I guess you could say, kind of a grassroots effort kind of thing, so there's that. I'm going to do my best to remain that way, to remain, grassroots, amateur. Not to say that I wouldn't love for this to take off and become a nationwide or a syndicated program. I would love for this to become something where I have a large group of listeners. At the same time, I will never elevate myself above my listeners. I'm still a common man, here for the common man, if that makes sense to you. Hopefully it does. So having said that, looking at the news, the current events, politics, everything going on right now, I mean, my God, if you really keep up with this stuff, you would go half mad trying to keep all this organized in your head, trying to figure out what's real, what's not. There's so much misinformation out there. It is absolutely critical that you don't go on these social media platforms finding this information and then take it to heart. Do your research, look it up, see how much of this is true. There's a lot of it out there that is based on truths, but is still skewed. A lot of it is put out by legacy media. There's a lot of it put out there by opposition. And when I say opposition, currently there is a Republican majority, so opposition will be the Democratic Party. So right now they're doing everything they can to discredit anything that happens within the Trump administration, be it from President Trump or any one of his appointees or anybody in the executive branch. They are going to do anything they can to discredit, put out misinformation. And this goes from the political figures in the Democratic side to anybody involved with anybody or anything happening on the Democratic side. Is there misinformation from the Republican side? Yes. I would never say that Republicans are perfect. That's absolutely ludicrous. That is crazy. I see flaws in both sides. Now, if this were a Democratic majority, the Republicans would be fighting against them. I will say that I have not seen Republicans fight against the Democratic side as hard or as violent or as extreme as the Democrats fight the Republicans. I don't know why. I don't know the mindset here. There's a lot of things going on that I don't understand. For instance, for example, the Pope, Pope Francis, I think it was, recently passed away. God rest his soul. There was a funeral for him. Apparently Donald Trump went, President Trump, and he wore a blue suit. There were articles upon stories of how disrespectful this man was. President Trump is going to show up to the Pope's funeral. The Pope, who had requested black suits only, and he is in a blue suit. And the picture it clearly shows Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, right there in a blue suit, among 2 or 3 rows of people in nothing but black. You can clearly see the contrast in colors and how disrespectful he really is. But wait a minute, wait. Let's pull that camera view back a little bit, okay? Now, when we do that, we happen to see a slew of people in blue and black suits and different styles of clothing, not just suits. So that's one example right there, just to show you how skewed the media is. It's not funny, but it is at the same time. It's really overwhelming. I mean, when you look at these articles and these stories, it gets so overwhelming that you don't know what's true, what's not. So do your due diligence, do your own research before you have conversations or debates or try to go out and attack somebody else, tell them how dumb they are, how they're wrong, how they shouldn't support a president, this, that, or the other. Make sure you know what the hell you're talking about first. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that sounds stupid. I'm trying not to be biased to this, but it's probably going to sound very biased. The majority of people doing that right now are the liberals, the left. They're using talking points. I happen to know some people who are liberal and have tried to discuss some of these issues, these current issues, since January 20. And I've tried to discuss some of these issues with them. And I hear from them the same talking points from the Democrats. And what's going on is the Democrats in Washington are mad about this or that, or they want to push back against Trump for this or that. So they come on TV, they come on news, they come on radio, wherever, and they say this. So next thing you know, that's trickled down. And when I have the conversation with these people, it's the same exact thing. So when I challenge them, I say, okay, well, why do you believe that? Why do you think that's true? Or why do you think that's happening? There is no backing. They can't explain it. They can't tell me. It's just what it is. That's all. You have to believe it. You racist. I'm through with that. I'm through with that argument. Know what the hell you're talking about. At least have a little bit, even a little bit of intelligence about the conversation so that we can have a conversation. Because without having a conversation, nothing is going to happen in this country. We have to be able to talk. If we can't talk and not hurl insults and not call each other's mamas bad names and not just denigrate each other, if we can't just talk and say, okay, this is what I believe, this is what you believe, at the end of the day, maybe we haven't changed each other's minds. But you know what? We have a newfound respect for each other because we can understand. I now have a clear view of your way of thinking, and you have a clear view of my way of thinking. We can now come to middle ground. That's where you have your bipartisan actions. These things that these lawmakers always talk about, these bipartisan bills, these bipartisan this and that. No, they're not. If you truly want bipartisan, what you're going to have is people who are on both sides of the aisle who can come together and talk and shake hands and say, okay, look, we may not agree, but, we can understand each other. With that understanding, let's come together for the good of the people of the United States of America. Or take that same example and put it into your state, your individual states. Each state has their own Congress, their own left and right side, and work for the people of your state. That is who the state Congress and the federal Congress work for. The people. Right there at the top of the Constitution, we, the people. That's us. That's who you work for. That's who you represent. You guys need to come together. Get your own personal crap out of it. Come together, shake hands, and say, okay, this is what we think. This is what our constituents think. Let's come together on middle ground for them, for our people, for the country, for the betterment of the country, the betterment of our states. That's where we need to go. Moving forward, there's a big thing in the news right now. ADD has again kicked in. And this country has ADD. I've said this several times on this show, and I will continue to say it. This country has attention deficit disorder. We will be mad about something for a couple of weeks, and then we forget all about it. We're mad about something else. Does anybody remember Doge? Haven't heard a peep about that. The Teslas, the protests, haven't heard a peep about that. Ukraine and Russia, that's starting to come back into the limelight. But that kind of faded out for a while. El Salvadorian immigrant, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, I think that was his name. He was all in the news for a couple of weeks. Lord, the left was up in arms. Now you're not going to hear a word about that, because what the news story is there are 3 United States children, including a 4-year-old with cancer, who were deported to Honduras by the evil and horrible Trump administration. It's as if they believe President Trump himself left the Oval Office, went down to Louisiana, picked these 2 mothers out of the line and said, you and you, grab your children, you're all getting the hell out of here. That's not what happened. If you want the story, you're going to have to really, really dig into it, because there is such conflicting stories here, back and forth on both sides. It's an argument even in the story, to the point where I can barely keep it together myself as to what truly happened or what maybe happened. There's so many questions here. So the first thing that I see is you've got 2 mothers who were Honduran, whatever, citizens, had children here in the United States, therefore birthright citizenship makes them United States citizens. These children that were born here, from what I understand, are 4, 7, and 2 years of age. One mother had 2 of those children, the other mother had 1 of them, I believe, among other children that they had that were illegal aliens along with the mother. Hopefully you're still following along. Throughout whatever reason, if they were picked up off the street, if they were going to an ICE building to check in, if they were in a Walmart shopping, I don't know. I'm still a little confused where they were, but they were detained by ICE, and the mothers were deported along with their children. The best that I can figure from everything I saw was that the mothers chose to take the children with them. You're going to hear conflicting stories here. Just to give you an idea, here's a group called Democracy Now! Just listen to what they have to say, as well as one of the lawyers for one of the moms.
On Friday, the Trump administration deported 3 U.S. citizen children to Honduras, including a 4-year-old boy who was actively receiving treatment for a rare form of stage 4 cancer. The boy and his 7-year-old sister, who's also a U.S. citizen, were deported along with their undocumented mother. That same day, another child with U.S. citizenship, a 2-year-old girl, was also sent to Honduras with her mother, who's pregnant, and her undocumented 11-year-old sibling. In that case, U.S. District Judge Terry Doughty, who's a Trump appointee, said the girl was deported, quote, with no meaningful process.
The kids were ready for school. They were expecting to go to school later that day. The family was taken into custody, asked for communication with their lawyer who was outside, and were denied that. At no point did these parents have any choice. They were not offered a choice. They weren't offered the kind of opportunity to speak with each other and make what would have been a very difficult decision, but one that two parents are entitled to make together about what's in the best interest of their family and what's in the best interest of their children.
Did you happen to notice that there was some emphasis there in the beginning of the story? The emphasis being on the 4-year-old child with a rare form of cancer. That's the only place that I found those words. Every article that I saw or read or every story I heard never used the term rare form of cancer. I don't know what kind of cancer this child has. I pray to God that he heals this child and this child no longer has to live with that cancer. But this is the only place I've heard of that. And there's going to be emphasis. That's not just the left. I will say this is the left doing that. But that's not just the left. That's how media works. That's how the propaganda machine works. They will emphasize words, just like I will do on some of my shows, I'm sure. Will emphasize words that will hit home with you, the listener, and that will make you adjust your sympathies to or away from, depending on where we're trying to lead you. That's how it works. But otherwise, child does have cancer, as far as I can tell. The other two children do not. There is concern that this child is going to leave the United States, go to Honduras, and not have any cancer treatment available to them. Because Honduras is not necessarily known for their medical care. It's not the greatest in the world at all. Honduras, the country, is slightly larger than Ohio in square mileage. However, it is much smaller than the state of New York. And there are at least 3, if not more, cancer centers within the country. One is, offered by St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. There is the Department of Pediatrics at Columbia University in Honduras. And there's the Hope of Life Center for children with cancer. I mean, imagine Ohio with 3 cancer centers within the state. Some states have none. I'm not going to say this child does not have access to care for their cancer. Now, again, if this is a rare form of cancer that maybe these places can't handle, I don't know. If St. Jude Children's Hospital gets involved, they will bring that child back. They will take them to, whatever hospital they need to. I'm sure these other hospitals will as well, especially if that child is a United States citizen because of birthright citizenship. That child has the right to come back into the country. I don't know the legalities of a child going to Honduras being a U.S. citizen. I mean, I'm sure the child doesn't have a passport. So, that's something they got to figure out over there. I have no idea about that. The only time I've ever been to Honduras was on a cruise ship. And I'm sure I wasn't in the main part of Honduras. That child is a United States citizen, everything that I can find. So that child can come back here. I'm assuming there's family here. The child can come back here, be with family, receive treatment. That sounds like a familial issue, a family issue, not a government issue. You can't want the government out of your family decisions and want them in your family decisions. You can't want the government to stop separating children from their parents and want them to separate children from their parents. Pick a side and stick with it. It doesn't work if you just, this week I believe this, but now it doesn't fit my narrative, so this week I believe the opposite. One thing I will say about at least the majority of the conservatives that I myself am and others are, we hold our beliefs, and no matter the situation, we stick with those beliefs. So, given that particular information, here's what Borders Czar Tom Homan, when he was asked by a member of the press in the White House what he had to say on it.
I said from day one that if you enter this country legally, it's a crime. If you remain in this country legally and you ignore a judge's order about deporting, If you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. This was a parental decision, parenting 101. The mothers made that choice. And I tell you what, if we didn't do it, the story today would be Trump administration separating families again. No, we're keeping families together. So when a parent says, I want my 2-year-old baby to go with me, we made that happen.
And he's absolutely right. If they had separated the children, left the children here, the story would be completely different. Nothing that they do is going to appease the left. No matter which way they go, they're going to spin it. It's going to be a bad story. Was it right for the children to go with their mother? Maybe. The mother has the right to take their minor children with them, don't you think? I don't know the legalities of, the child being a citizen and the mother not. There's word that perhaps there was other family members here in the United States that the child could have stayed with. Well, that seems to be one of those family issues. That's a choice up to the mother, not the father that'd be a father and mother decision, but not the in-laws or anybody else. Mother, father, I don't know if they were married, if they had fathers and all this. There had to be some input somewhere. But at the end of the day, that was the family's decision, not the government's. Family said, we want to remain together. I want to take my children. The government said, okay, we will honor your wish. Let me play you a little piece from this agency, this organization called Brute. I think it's Brute, B-R-U-T.
A federal judge said a 2-year-old U.S. citizen was taken out of the country with no meaningful process. Here's what we know. According to a federal judge in Louisiana, an undocumented immigrant from Honduras who was being deported decided to take her child with her. U.S. District Judge Terry A. Dowdy said it is illegal and unconstitutional to deport, detain for deportation, or recommend deportation of a U.S. citizen. As a result, Dowdy scheduled a hearing for May 16th.
Okay, so we heard that it's illegal to deport a U.S. citizen. We know this. We already know this. The left would have you think that because of the Alien Enemies Act and Donald Trump is in the White House and he's just going to start deporting people left and right, citizens or not, he doesn't care. You're all getting on a bus. You're all getting on a plane. You're all getting the hell out of here. That is bull doo-doo. It's not going to happen. But did you hear the beginning of that? She said, here's what we know. The mothers were getting deported and wanted to take their children with them. ICE, President Trump, Tom Homan, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, none of them deported children or American citizens. But these headlines will have you think that. And that's what the headlines are reading. Trump administration deports American children, American citizen children. It's misleading. It's not true. But that's how the left works. They revel in lies, false propaganda to try to turn you, to try to sway you. That's where I say you need to do your own due diligence. You need to do your own research. You need to become sufficient or efficient in looking past the pile of rubble on top. Move it aside and dig deeper. Really find out what's going on. Marco Rubio was on Meet the Press recently, and he was asked about this current situation. He had this to say about it.
Okay, let's talk now about some new reporting that came in overnight. I want to just go through it for you and for our audience. 3 U.S. citizen children have been deported with their mothers. Now, this is according to the Washington Post. The family's lawyers.
Okay, first, let's stop there. Hear that. Washington Post, right? 3 U.S. citizen children have been deported with their mothers. You heard that. That's how they do that, okay? Keep listening.
His lawyer says one of them is a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer, deported without medication or ability to contact doctors. The family's lawyers.
Okay. Now let's go further. One of them is a child with stage 4 cancer, which so far as I can tell is true, without the ability to contact doctors or get medication. There are doctors and medication in Honduras. And being a citizen of the United States, that child would also have access to the doctors and medication here. So that's absolutely untrue.
Families' lawyers are also saying their clients were denied communication with family and legal representatives before being deported, and it's raising concerns about the issue of due process, that it's being violated. So let me ask you, is everyone on U.S. soil, citizens and non-citizens, entitled to due process?
Yes, of course. But let me tell you, it looks in immigration standing, the laws are very specific. If you're in this country unlawfully, you have no right to be here and you must be removed. That's what the law says.
So due process has come up again. That's where they're leaning to, due process. That's what the left continues to harp on, due process. Was there due process in this situation? I can't tell you. From every article that I've read, from every news outlet that I've seen this story, it's been back and forth, probably even yes and no, yes and no. A lot of them are saying no. A lot of them are saying, they did. I don't know. I don't know if the due process came, they had a hearing, they were scheduled for deportation. If so, that's their due process. If they're scheduled for deportation, then picked up, they don't get another due process. I mean, maybe they don't understand how that works. Let's continue.
Must be removed. That's what the law says. Somehow, over the last 20 years, we've completely lost this notion that somehow or completely adopted this idea that, yes, we have immigration laws, but once you come into our country illegally, it triggers all kinds of rights that can keep you here indefinitely. That's why we were being flooded at the border. And we've ended that. And that's why you see a historically low number of people, not just trying to cross our border, trying to cross the border into Panama, all the way down in the Darien Gap. I mean, it's been a huge help for those countries as well. On the headline, that's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them.
Okay, so we heard that too, right? As I mentioned earlier, they keep saying these 3 U.S. citizen children were deported with their mother, and that is misleading. The children were not deported whatsoever. There is no authorization for deportation. There's no order for deportation for these children. These children were minor children of illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. Those illegal aliens were deported and chose to take children with them. That is what happened.
To assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading. Yeah. That's just not true.
Just to be clear, because I do want to get to the overhaul at the State Department, is it the U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families, and I hear what you're saying, without due process? Just to be very clear there.
Well, no. Again, if someone's in this country unlawfully, illegally, that person gets deported. If that person is with a 2-year-old child or has a 2-year-old child and says, I want to take my child with me, well, then you have 2 choices. You can say, yes, of course you can take your child, whether they're a citizen or not, because it's your child. Or you can say, yes, you can go, but your child must stay behind. And then your headlines would read, U.S. holding hostage 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old while mother deported. So the parents make that choice. I imagine those 3 U.S. citizen children have fathers here in the United States. Yeah. They can stay with their father. That's up to their family to decide where the children go. Children go with their parents. Parents decide where their children go. Right. The U.S.
Right. The parents decide where the children go, as it should be. And, not too long ago, it was all over the media how customs and immigration enforcement were separating children, separating families. They're evil. They're separating families, blah, 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 blah. So now they're not doing it, and they're still wrong. No matter what they do, they're wrong, okay? And these cats here on the left, they keep wanting to focus, hey, there's this poor kid, he's got cancer. And God, I pray to God that he helps this child, that he heals this child. I don't want to see a child suffer from cancer at all, which is one reason that I am a huge supporter of the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Shameless plug, you should be too. Give a little bit, donation. Every little bit helps. Anyway, these are the same cats who not too long ago at the State of the Union address by President Donald Trump refused to stand up and clap their hands for DJ Daniel, a 13-year-old boy who survived brain cancer and wants nothing more in this life than to become a law enforcement officer. That is it. That boy is not President Trump. He's not represented by President Trump. He's not a representative of President Trump. They want to sit down and they don't want to clap. They don't want to support anything that their president says. Fine, whatever. But when he introduced that young man, they didn't stand. They didn't do a darn thing. But now, because the narrative is in their favor, or at least they think it is, or they're trying to make it be, they want to start throwing that out there. This child was deported. It's an American citizen child. And, the child has cancer. Well, you know what? Sit down and shut up. You don't want to support a child with cancer when it doesn't fit your bill, but now you think that it does. You're all about it. I'm over it. I really am. So back and forth, we're having this argument, and Lord knows where this table's going to sit or where this is going to land. There's been deportations by every president, and the numbers have been up and down. There's been more and more in the last several presidencies, I will tell you that. George H. Bush, it wasn't George H. Bush, was it? No. W. Yeah, W. W was the younger one, H was the older one. I get them confused, I'm sorry. George W. Bush, he had over 2 million deportees. Barack Obama had over 3 million. So far is the highest number. Donald Trump's first term, a little over 1 million deportees. Joe Biden's term, he had over 1.5 million. So far, Donald Trump has had the lowest amount of deportees than any of the preceding presidents that I mentioned. The left doesn't want you to know that. Absolutely not. All he's doing is just sending everybody out of the country, which is absolutely not true. It doesn't fit their bill to say the truth here. So getting past the circus that is the left. Well, you know what? Not getting past it. Actually diving deeper into it. Okay. There has been a lot of scuttlebutt, rumors, word on the street about a certain person perhaps being interested in the Democratic nomination for president come 2028. Now, right now, we know that the Democratic Party is flailing. They're lost. Their leadership is in disarray. They don't know where they're going. They're up, down, left, right. They're searching. Every time they try to organize themselves, get themselves together, it just falls apart. Chuck Schumer, this cat is a joke now. He is where Nancy Pelosi was. He's out of his damn mind. Okay, now you got Hakeem Jeffries. He's trying to put himself out there. I think he's a minority leader. He's trying to put his voice out there. He doesn't sound like he has the mental capabilities to run a Burger King, okay, or a McDonald's, much less a country. The DNC, I think he's the vice chair now, David Hogg. This young man, he's one of the Parkland school shooting survivors. He wants to gut the entire Democratic Party from the inside. Go David Hogg. Okay, I'm all about it. He wants to start primarying people. I don't know why he wants to do that, but the DNC leadership is not very happy with him. They're giving him an opportunity to step down from his position and do what he wants to do, or remain in his position and shut up. There's infighting within the DNC left and right. You got other cats coming up. Jasmine Crockett, originally from St. Louis area, I think it was, I believe, but is now in Dallas, Texas, and she's a representative. She's trying to be out there, putting her voice and her name out there. She's falling all over herself and making herself look bad. Cory Booker does a 25-hour filibuster. Nobody still has a clue what he was filibustering because there was no bill on the table. It was more of a 25-hour rant. A rant about nothing. It says it was a protest against Donald Trump. So you stood up, made yourself uncomfortable for 25 hours, and just complained. I want you to understand that's That's where the left is. That's where the liberal left is. We're going to stand up here for 25 hours and just complain about everything. But I think his was more of a PR stunt. He was interested in breaking Senator Strom Thurmond's 1957 record filibuster against civil rights. I don't know what the... I really have no idea what the whole reason was for him being up there. But he did it. 25 hours. I mean, he did it. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched a portion of it. Continuing with these names in the DNC, Democratic leadership, there's one person who has not necessarily said that they have an eye on the presidential nomination, but they are doing things that would make us certainly feel like. Listen to this.
You know, I heard that someone started flying a plane with a banner that said, this is Trump country. It sure don't look like it today. I don't think this is Trump country. I think this is our country.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This is our country. That, if you don't know, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, otherwise known as AOC, a New York Democratic representative from the, I don't want to say this wrong, but I think it's the 14th District, New York. Anyway, she's been going around the country with Bernie Sanders, you know, that young, energetic man, and doing a Fight the Oligarchy tour, which is sort of hypocritical of them, but it's kind of funny, too. It strikes me that she is going to these states that, and that one was in California, so that is definitely not a red state. But she's going to a lot of these red states, and she's trying to, excuse the pun, trump up support for her. You know, she's not saying, I'm here to get your vote. I'm here for you to vote for me for president. But why are you just popping out with this tour? Why are you just going around to these states and campaigning? What are you campaigning for? I mean, it would make sense to me that it seems like you are campaigning for something coming up. You are already in Congress. Maybe, you know, midterms coming up, she's just making sure she stays in Congress. I don't know. Either way, I know there's not only myself, but several other not institutions, organizations, people, places that I have heard or read about possible upcoming run for president. It would be interesting to see who she would choose as a vice president. And I think that if she does seek a presidential nomination, it's probably going to end up being between her and Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg. I think I said that right. It's kind of a hard name. But I think those are probably going to be your front runners. Now, I could be way off. You know, I could be high as a kite right now, you know, just speaking out of my wazoo. That is my prediction. So we're just going to have to see, you know, give it a few years and we'll see. We know on the right, President Trump can't run again. Even though he enjoys trolling the left with the third term thing, I think he just thinks that's hilarious. You know, there's speak about on the right, maybe Trump Jr., J.D. Vance. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. So, Michael Knowles. I am horrible with names, in case you haven't realized that. I am horrible with them. And I don't want to mispronounce them. I don't want to disrespect people by doing that. It's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just horrible at pronouncing names. I apologize. So Michael Knowles, I'm going to say Knowles. He had made a post on TikTok that I thought was informative and humorous. So take a quick listen to this.
AOC just put out this political commercial. Tell me what you think she's doing here.
You know, Idaho, I am so touched being here. I'm a girl from the Bronx. To be welcomed here in this state, all of us together, seeing our common cause, this is what this country is all about. Don't let them trick us into thinking we are enemies. Don't let them trick us into thinking we can be separated into rural and urban, black and white and Latino. We are one. And Idaho, I know that looking around here, it can feel impossible for Republicans out here to be defeated. That's not true. It's simply not true. And from the waitress who is now speaking to you today from this podium, I can tell you, impossible is nothing.
She's running for president. In case you're the one person out there who didn't catch it, she's running for president. What is AOC doing in Idaho? Some people think she just wants to challenge Chuck Schumer or someone, become a senator from New York. That's when you campaign in Albany. She's in Idaho, and that lady's running for president. And the Democrat Party is so bereft of leadership, she might get the nomination.
I absolutely agree with him 110%. Why else is she in Idaho? You know, again, if she is challenging Chuck Schumer, she should be in New York, in Albany. But she is in Idaho. She's over in California. She's talking about Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. Why is she over there unless she's running for president? I am 110% in agreement with Michael Knowles. This woman is running for president, and you mark my words, come time for the Democratic nominee or nomination, her name will be in there. Lord, I tell you, I can only hope. But at the same time, you know, as much as I've heard people say, oh, absolutely, we want her to run. Yes, we want her to run. That's going to be an easy win for us. I will say this, don't do that. Don't do that. So the left, as unorganized as they may be right now, and in such disarray, the one thing you need to notice by their protests, by them coming together on social media, they will band together over something that they believe in. If they believe AOC is their way forward, the left will come together in droves. They will band together like nothing you've seen before. They will link arms from one end of this country to the other. And you will see a voter turn out like no other. You thought, Biden got up there and said, I've had 800 gazillion gabillion votes, the most in history. You will see more than that with AOC. And it's not because I think she's a good candidate. It's because they will do anything and everything they can to try to not get rid of Trump. That's a given. He's not coming back. Get rid of the Republican Party, the right, the Republican majority in Congress. They want a blue wave. Like we've had a red wave so many times, they want a blue wave. They want Democrats in every House, Senate that they can get across this state, or this country rather. They want them in the federal level. That's what they want. I promise you. They want a Democratic president. AOC would be one of the worst things to ever happen to this country. You thought Biden was bad? Let AOC get in that office. Put AOC in the Oval Office. Oh, dear Lord. And it's not, let me be clear, it's not because she's a woman. I couldn't care less. Or could I care less? No, I couldn't. I could not care less if there's a woman president. It doesn't bother me a bit. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or any other nationality. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I vote for policy. I vote for change that is going to move this country closer to align with the United States Constitution and the framework that our founders built this country on. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what nationality you are. As long as you represent that and you push for that for our country. And it's not just lip service. You truly mean it. You truly are there. That's where I'm at. I don't think she embodies that at all. I know she doesn't. Not from everything I've seen. But, the left is going to tell you they're for America. They're for the common people. They're for the, dare I say, the middle class. They're not ever for the lower class. They never say that. They try to tell you that they're for all of this, but they're not. All they do is spend all their time saying how evil the right is and how the right has control of all this, and we need to get it back from them. We need to take it away from them. They won't stop and just say, okay, look, we understand y'all are in majority right now, but let's come together. Let's work on these things. We don't really care for that bill that you're introducing. Can we talk about it? Can we discuss it? Can we make some changes, come back to the table, redraw it, make some compromises for the American people? No, all they want to do is just tear stuff down, burn down buildings, protest, call names. It's overwhelming and it's tiring. The first 4 years with Trump, it was Nancy Pelosi and her cronies. And I said, my God, there's no way that anything can ever get done with them constantly tearing this man from one side to the other. And I said, okay, this time Nancy Pelosi, she's kind of out of it. I mean, she's really out of the game. So maybe it'll be better. No, the entire party this time has stepped up to do it. And while I understand both sides fight against each other, you can't have this. This is not conducive for our country. This is not pushing our nation forward. This is not in line with the Constitution, Bill of Rights, what our country was founded on or for. This is not in regards of we the people. This is divisive. You have split the country, not only racially, blacks and whites, okay, including now you've gone religiously, Muslims and Christians, and now Democrats and Republicans. Okay, I want you to understand the divisiveness that has come. And then now you on top of all that, you've got the anti-gunners, pro-gunners, the pro-lifers, abortionists. You have everything that you can think of. They have essentially put out there on the forefront and split the country in two and made sure there's a clear line in the sand drawn. You have to pick a side. You must get on this side or that side. Point blank, period. Nothing more about it. Look at Israel and Palestine. That is dividing our country. The inner workings of an argument over land, thousands and thousands of miles away, is dividing our country. It's ridiculous. Immigration right now is dividing our country. We have people who are pro or anti-immigrant. Excuse me, not immigrant. Illegal immigration. But it seems that even amongst those, they're drawing even more lines. Okay, so you're pro-illegal immigrants. Are you pro all immigrants, some stay, some don't, gang members, non-gang members? It's mind-boggling how this is almost like a right out of playbook, Saul Alinsky. It's you're divide and conquer. And if you can divide everybody, you can at least control half. If you can at least control half, you can amass that army. If you amass that army, you can march that army against the other half. And then guess what you have? Civil war, some sort of internal revolution, internal coup. That's where we're headed. That is where we're headed, people. It may not be the next 4 or 10 years. It's headed there if we don't do something with this country, if we don't come together at some point and talk, if we don't come together and meet on common ground, meet in the middle. We are headed there. I promise you that. So enough with my rants. I'm sure you're probably sick of hearing it, but I do appreciate everybody being here. I want you to take a minute. I'm not going to do a whole ad for you today, but please just take a minute and go to preparewiththespringershow.com. Check out My Patriot Supply and everything that they're offering. They've got all kinds of good sales. You can get emergency food kits. You can get emergency generators with EMP technology. They have stuff that you can use for camping. They have all sorts of stuff. And they're not bad prices at all. You don't have to get, the 4-month supplies. You can get, a week or something reasonable. The food is delicious. The supplies work great. Just please check them out. Preparewiththespringershow.com. I would appreciate it if you would. And if you take a minute, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, TikTok, any one of these places, and just check out The Springer Show. I've got different ones. It's, the_Springer_show, or just The Springer Show, or Springer_show. I don't know. I can't keep up with them all. I got them all listed somewhere. Just check them out. You go to Facebook, I've got a link tree. Check out the link tree. It'll take you to all of them. On the Apple, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you're listening, take a minute to like, share, comment, rate, please. Let's spread the word. Let's get some more people on board here. I've got some people coming on soon who are going to join me for some discussions. I'm looking at maybe doing, a small panel, several people in here talking at the same time. So we have some things we're working on, and I want to do better for you guys. So if you have any comments, feedback, anyway, anything like that, I appreciate every bit of it. So I really appreciate you guys. You guys are doing an excellent job for me, and I hope that I can do an excellent job for you. With that said, I want you to have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and God bless every one of you.